This is a public hearing, so we'll be taking comments from anybody on the board and any of the public in here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I live down in that area, and those two roads are heavily used. People are used to stopping at the four-way stop. I want it to continue. It was put in there by the previous council. Because it was built up with traffic. It is a safety issue, and I'm requesting that it stays as is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion or public comments on this? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move on to item 7. Discussion and possible action, items pertaining to the public hearing. Item 1, Councilman Alworth, discussion for possible action, approval to remove east-west facing stop signs on North Street at Ogden and North Street intersections.
I think it is a very awkward four-way stop. People are kind of creeping out into the intersection to see who stopped first, what they're doing. I don't like them at all. I move to approve.
Well, second.
We have a motion from Councilman Carson and a second from Councilman Alworth. Is there any other discussion on this? Anything you'd like to add, Sheriff, or DJ, or anybody?
It's their decision.
Okay.
One thing I'd like to say is that on the one that's going north,
I don't see it on the agenda here where one recommendation was to put the cross traffic doesn't stop. Signs that stay.
Yeah, so the ones going down Ogden have a stop sign.
And the stop sign,
Cross
which
traffic
means
does
the
not
cross
stop.
traffic doesn't stop.
Okay.
The only comment I have on that, BJ, is a stop sign is for that, stop and look. You don't need to be stopped and say, read the sign before you go. Or we have them all over town. That's my only comment. We're all adults, we pass your driver's license test, you're supposed to stop the stop sign and look. We don't need to say, hey, you got new people coming to town, don't know those stop signs were there on the side. So I think it's childish, my side.
Ed?
well, I was gonna say that I think it's gonna be better because that one tree there, when you're going east, that you flat can't see that stop sign anyway. So, there's a lot of people running it, but the other one is, as I do see cross traffic, does not stop on 93 coming on to the outlet right there. I don't know why you have to put it out there. Like you say, a big stop sign, you should stop, but I'm okay with it. Cross traffic doesn't stop if you have to put it on there. But, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Would Councilman Carson or Councilman Alworth like to come in there?
I don't think so, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Carried to order. Thank you. We're back. We're on item C3. Council members, city treasurer track discussion for possible action. Approve budget committee's recommendations of American Rescue Plan expenditures to include modified or exclude the following. Item 1, first item, Ford AV sound system upgrade includes removable four two-way speakers, one 65-inch flat panel with mobile cart, and installation training warranty in the amount of $32,072.08. A preventive maintenance contract can be added for $2,379, and 10 AEDs, 4 without cabinets for city and Ely Fire Department vehicles, and 6 with cabinets, 1 for each of the city facilities in the amount of $20,504.00.
Mayor Robertson, just for the record, I did receive one text from Kay Roberts McMurray. Quote, the audio sounds really muffled for some reason. So the others that are on Zoom don't have my cell number.
Nobody's messaged on Zoom
No.
to say anything.
No.
And we do have a representative from 40B here for that as well. So what I would recommend to the council is we take both of these items as separate motions. And we'll start with the AV item, which you have a copy of their quote here. And as I said, someone from 40B to answer the question.
I think right now we don't have the internet to support something like this. I know we do use this, the big screens and everything to zoom in at the tour and rec, and it's constantly locking up, freezing. We have to stop the meeting. I think we definitely need to get that in first before we look at more expensive options.
kind of system do they use at that, of those meetings?
You know, I don't know the name of it.
Is it like a separate camera, whole setup? thing?
Yeah, they got TV on the wall back here, you can see everybody. It's pretty sophisticated, but like I say, the internet just doesn't support it.
Councilman Arnold?
I have 3 comments. I agree with Councilman Carson. We need good sound and everything, but we need to have the fiber here to do it. You know, I think we're jumping the gun, we're trying to rush something that we just need to wait. You just get the fiber in here, it will be better for everybody. My other comment is I don't really think we need, I think that the people hear us is more important than seeing us. The expense that goes along with the TV and so forth is astronomical. And my last comment is, I don't think the city has a right to put, again, I gotta make a disclosure, I'm a past member of the volunteer fire department 36 years. I don't think the city has a right to come into this clubhouse and make changes to it, put a box against where that fire extinguisher is there to disrupt this building. The council knows in past years, the volunteers were treated terribly by previous councils and they booted them. They had to go all around town trying to find a place to have a meeting. So we've got a real good deal here with them, and I don't know if the chief could elaborate if they met, talked to the volunteers at all on this. Sure, they're gonna do waterways up there, you know, this whole building here is an old church, we all understand that. Sound is good. When I talked with Public Works Director Mike, the speakers we had here were 16 years old. Things need to be replaced in the modern era. I talked to the treasurer, she says, well, we could probably put it in the budget to get new speakers. It's a sound issue. The people are squawking, calling in, they have a legitimate right to squawk and call in if they can't hear us. It's a sound thing. And in the write-up here, you know, and I hate to cut this thing all apart, but, you know, they openly admit that the first sound system we got was terrible. They said, we openly admit the sound system sucked. And we apologize, we should have got a better system. Well, you know, that to me, if we weren't good, they didn't do a good job the first try, what makes us think we're gonna get it done right the second time? You know, and I personally take some offense. Again, we are a small city with a small budget, and we do our best to spend our money right for the taxpayers. And again, Jennifer, she's disagreed with me, which is all right and just. You know, they say, you know, you don't buy this stuff at Costco and Walmart. It's none of their business where we buy our stuff. We want, for $32,000, this is gonna be the state of art, but I just don't think we need the TV stuff if we don't got the internet the fiber to support it. That's mine, got a whole bunch of comments relative to that.
And for the record, what I thought I'd do after tonight's meeting is email out the audio from using the OWL and the audio from the 13th where we had the microphones that we currently own, just for comparison. And then everyone could hear what people on Zoom are hearing right now, to compare the two speakers. So.
I mean,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I like that idea as well, and I think one of my concerns, having experienced our Zoom meetings firsthand a couple weeks ago, was that we really do need either better microphones or microphones for every single person who's needing to be heard at the table. Anytime, for example, our attorney, anytime he leaned back or moved over, it was hard to hear unless someone was talking right in the microphone, where we do have some people having to share them, that becomes a little cumbersome. I'll agree with Councilman Allworth that I think sound is probably more critical than the visual. Having access like we did tonight, though, for some of these digital presentations, which we are getting more and more of, would probably be more important than seeing who's on Zoom or whatever else we use that for. But those are my thoughts on that. I'm sure this could be honed some, but I think we're a ways out on either the equipment for our fiber optics as well as this equipment. And the sooner we get decided what we want to do and get what we wanted to do in the queue, you know, like I said, I think we're 12 weeks out or more on anything.
Approximately 4 days labor lead time as of yesterday morning.
I'm sorry, how much?
It's approximately 14 to 16 weeks as of yesterday morning.
Oh dear.
The average equipment lead time we're seeing from some manufacturers ranges anywhere from the low side of 2.5 months to the high side year plus. So we've already received notifications from some manufacturers that they're no longer shipping certain items this year. So most, just from what last I checked, the items we picked on here does not fall into that category. That's why we went with the things we did. But there's still certainly going to be some lead time waiting for some of the equipment. And that sort of thing with the current state changes daily.
Sure. Are there other questions from the council? Jerry?
I agree that the sound is much more important, even with what we're using tonight. The people can see us, we can't see them. It's not a big issue. But I also agree, because we use this at our board meetings, to make people on, if it's not the right thing, you can't hear it. The internet still is not what we need it to be. So before we spend that kind of money, and we even do not have everyone calling in, because we would have a lot more people who would rather Zoom than be at the meeting, but the more people we have on, the worse the sound is. So.
Sure. Well, and the justification for using the ARPA funding on this is, sure, in the best of times, most people are going to want to come in, and, you know, tonight we only have a handful of people on Zoom. If we're forced into quarantine positions again, like we were doing a couple of years ago when our entire meeting was on Zoom, which is something I definitely thought was clunky, having the equipment to do it in a better fashion, is certainly the justification for using our ARPA funding to make sure we're ready for the next time it comes around, should it come around. But are there any other questions or items that anybody would like to ask about?
Well, the biggest comment that I would have to say, and Kim kind of beat me to it, but this 18 space equipment rack in the facility that we're renting, and I don't see anywhere where we've even negotiated with the firemen to discuss this, have we?
Volunteer firemen did vote on this at their December meeting, and they approved the city doing this, or it wouldn't be on the agenda if we hadn't covered
Okay,
that.
so I have no way of knowing that. It's kept looking at that taken forward. We're going to put this up, how are we going to store it, and who's responsible for it when they have a party in here? This is expensive equipment. And it's sitting right there. I don't know where they thought it was going to do it.
And once again, I disclosed that past member of the volunteer fire department.
Right.
They have a housing committee, again, I don't participate in the meetings no longer, but were they giving the drawings like I got yesterday of where they're, because these are firefighters and EMTs.
They received the whole proposal with
Okay.
everything, with a schematic of where the speakers would be placed. Yeah, correct?
But
I wasn't at that meeting, so I don't know what they received.
because, you know, the thing, I know the speakers, they're up on the end of the wall, no problem, but that control module is gonna go right where that fire extinguisher is, sticking out right there. And you read the,
Brought on the floor at the volunteer department, what the concept was, the screen drop down and all that stuff. But I wasn't at a meeting where there was any conceptual drawings or anything. But I missed a couple of meetings. I was out of the area hunting, so I don't know if it could have been discussed, I don't know.
Yeah, I will double check myself. My memory is that I sent everything to the volunteers, but I'll double check myself.
okay,
It would have went through Burton or April, not me. I mean, anything to do with the things that was missing for the president.
because one of my concerns is, you know, that this document, the contract, you know, it's not for public information, so I doubt, again, I'm not doubting your word. Did they get this contract thing? Because in this, they talk about damages. Hey, we're firemen. We have parties. And it's gonna be sitting right there and get bumped. Or we got kids are rambunctious. They spill something into it or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that volunteers need to realize. The amount of money here, it's $12,321 worth of equipment. Not all of it's easily accessible, but trust me, in 36 years, I've seen a lot of things happen in this volunteer hall.
Right, yeah.
You know,
What kind of box is this in, Ray?
So it is security said, it is an 18U. It's a locked rack, so it's, the equipment's enclosed, there's a locking door in the front. It's a mobile rack with casters, so the idea is to put it over on the sidewall. We planned the project to utilize the existing electrical, so you guys wouldn't have to make changes to that. So, but the unit is mobile. If you guys did have a large event planned, things could be disconnected and the rack could be rolled out of the room. Reversely, if the large event was planned where the system would be beneficial, then it could be used for that, of course.
Is it, I mean, you say it's locked, how secure is it? If somebody sets, because it's gonna be a flat spot, I assume, and they set their drink on and it gets tipped over?
It is not waterproof.
Okay.
It's not party drink proof, so that is definitely, yes, a notable consideration. And if I may comment on something that I previously said about the internet, not to shoot myself in the foot, as they say, but I wholeheartedly agree with the council when that is a concern. If this was a $1 million system, you know, with all the best technology, it would still be wholly dependent on the speed of your guys' internet, which is a critical factor. So that is definitely a good point to consider for you guys. I mean, you could get this in here, and if your internet isn't great, you could still experience lagging issues or even audio quality issues.
We're, and I apologize for kicking myself for not asking Jojo and Greg this while they were here, but what is the timeline for our internet? If this is 14 to 16 weeks out to get the internet that we've already approved, that the council's already approved to get.
I emailed JoJo and several people at ComNet this afternoon again, because I met with them last Thursday and they couldn't give me a date. And so she outlined what she said tonight, that, you know, the equipment's in Vegas.
Except for our firewall.
Except for the firewall, and because that firewall isn't here, they won't commit to an ETA for completion of the system. So here we are. I mean, we could be months. You know,
It could be next week, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Could we possibly get a proposal of just sound? Sound instead of TV too?
I mean, the sound is probably the biggest part of this, isn't it?
Yeah, I can make any changes the council would request. So we can remove the TV. That was an expensive piece of the commercial display. We only deal in commercial equipment.
Sure.
But it could just include the sound. You already have the existing microphones and those, speakers that were here before we brought the microphone system. And I think when it came out several months ago, we discovered that there were some volume issues causing the feedback then. So that was an initial part. So just replacing the speakers in and of themselves would be an improvement. If I may be completely honest, the proposal will still seem potentially costly because you guys are at a location disadvantage. So it's not easy to get a team out here to install, and regardless of the size of the project, we will always have our own install team, and then we'll have an engineer test and commission and verify the system is working as it should, and then we'll have someone train you on how to properly use the system.
I mean, it's definitely up to the pleasure of the council here. My personal recommendations would be still to have some fixed speakers that aren't sitting around here. I still believe there's a microphone issue. We need more microphones or different kind of microphones.
You do. We can add more microphones. At this point in time, the existing mixer you guys have is physically limited to add more. So I could remove the TV, and then we could add the additional to give you guys more microphones if I could get a firm exact number of microphones you want to support, or number up to. Like if you have a regular, we normally need, a minimum of 9 microphones, but we want to be able to potentially have as many as 12 for special events. Then I can make the system
And
ready.
we already have a camera that we're gonna be using even in this proposal, right?
You already do. So the camera that you guys have been using in the tripod, part of the proposal included adding the wire run to mount it in the back of the room so you get most ideal shot of the council and people presenting, and also take advantage of the light in the room to get the best possible image.
What's the pleasure of the council then?
I'd move to get a quote on the speaker system and just put on like up to 10 mics or something on there. I think we'll need 8 for sure.
Sure.
get to work on the sound system for sure.
I like that idea, but I like, I mean, I would just might throw on the screen. So I think this is one proposal, another proposal, just strictly sound.
We'll start out with that, and then maybe we get a firm date on the internet and go from there later.
Well, right now, I can see at least 10 mics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or even missing 9, podium 10. So I don't think 10 is enough. Because you may want to have one, if we had engineer back there, and Jeanette.
They generally come up to the podium, but.
Yeah, but you still may want to have a spare, or a dozen maybe, I don't know.
Let's shoot for 12 then.
Yeah, I would
think.
So I will say one thing, that sound is a very scientific thing without taking up too much of council's time. I'll say that if you end up throwing 15, 16, 17 mics in here, so when we build these, we have an intended layout for where everything's gonna go. So if that sort of thing is not followed regularly, you could still experience issues, because we're very precise in how we design these things.
Yeah, he spells that out quite well on page 13 about sound, air conditioning, following.
You can get directional, omnidirectional mics. You can get mics that actually you have to speak right into.
Correct.
They don't pick up a lot of stuff outside there.
It would, yeah.
Yeah, you can. It's called, there's two different types of mics, directional and omnidirectional.
It's very similar to the gooseneck mics you guys already have would be a perfect example of that. So that's why people have to lean into it, because it's meant to pick up directly in front of you, so it doesn't pick up the ambient noise. For instance, I'm willing to bet when you guys play this back later, you'll hear a lot of ambient noise and echo from this mic, because it's having to reach out to the whole room rather than just get just the person speaking voice.
Well, and that's why having more of them, so that we're not trying to pass them around, it makes it awkward. So if that's the motion, then
I'll second Kurt's.
motion from Councilman Alworth, second from, motion from Councilman Carson, second from Councilman Alworth. Any further discussion? We do appreciate you coming out and being here for this. Thank you very much. We'll have a vote, all in favor on the AV system? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and then on the other item on number 3, the AEDs for the fire department vehicles and for the city facilities.
Move to approve.
Motion from Councilman Carson, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Councilman
I'll
Stevens.
make another disclosure of the past member of the fire department. I believe my vote will be in the right move for the betterment of the community.
Okay. With that, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried so ordered. Item 4, council member, city attorney Cahoon, discussion for possible action, approval for the city of Ely to execute a settlement participation form, Exhibit B, and subdivision settlement participation form, Exhibit K, each containing releases pursuant to the One Nevada Agreement on Allocation of Opioid Recoveries, One Nevada Agreement previously agreed upon by City of Ely in August 2021, for participation in settlements with number 1, the state of Nevada, and 3 of the opioid distributor defendants, which are Amerisource Bergen Drug Corporation, Cardinal Health, and McKesson, as listed in Exhibit C to the One Nevada Agreement, and 2, the state of Nevada and the 1 opioid manufacturer defendant, Janssen Johnson & Johnson, as listed in Exhibit C to the One Nevada Agreement, and execution of Amendment 1 to the One Nevada Agreement on allocation of opioid recoveries regarding a reduction in attorney's fees to the One Nevada Agreement for purposes of these 2 settlements only. Attorney Cahoon.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd recommend that the council table this item as well, just to give me the opportunity to read the settlement agreements. There was some delay in getting those to my office, and did not make it on the agenda. They are significantly long, so.
And we have time to do this.
Yes, yeah, the deadline to have this done is March 4th, and so we have some time to get this done. Hopefully-
Leo, can I ask you a question too while you're on the subject? I know that we've talked about this, quite some time, about getting economy drugs name moved off this lawsuit. So could you inform us a little bit about that and the process of that?
Well, there's currently a stay in the courts on the litigation, and so nothing can be done at this time. But things might change here in the future, and anything else I think, would be sort of confidential. Should be spoken about during litigation.
Thank you.
Um,
Move to
table.
Motion to table from Councilman Zerga, second from Councilman Albert. I would encourage any council members that have questions as they go through this, to please reach out to our attorney. He's in the weeds in this, and it's quite a bit. Any further discussion? All in favor for table?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried, so ordered.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I overlooked one item on the fire chief's report. Could I ask Pat a question?
We'll return to item 4.
I talked with you on this resolution the county had, that $10,445 for the rims.
Right.
Did they discuss that? I went to that meeting, but I didn't stay for the whole thing.
I was at the meeting. It was basically, the way I understood, that was just set up for Elizabeth to have a line item budget created, so that they had somewhere for that to go. That was part of that money, with that $273,000 fund. Since then, I've gotten some information from Jamie, just what our annual maintenance is on it, and I think it's gonna be $1,000 a year going forward, so, I'm gonna review that with you and go over some stuff on it. I mean, one of those things where you get that equipment, and then, the ongoing maintenance, you know, you gotta weigh out the options of it, but, going forward, I think it'd be a good thing. I mean, because part of the stuff we're doing is with the, pre-plan that we're doing now. I've had the guys out this last week, started in with our new program, going around doing all the pre-planning. That was one of the things we were laxed in from, moving our ISO rating down to a 3. All that information is stuff that would come to them tablets directly, the pictures, the drawings, the maps, and show where shut-offs are, where everything is on all of their properties. So I think to progress the department into the, 21st century, 20 years late, I think it'd be a good idea. But we have not committed nothing or signed anything or issued a check or nothing yet. That was kind of a formality. We understood it just so their budget had a line item on it.
Yeah, we learned that today in their RTC meeting. They had a caller item in there, and that's just to get what you just set up an account.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And then the only other thing I would comment on, the AED you guys did, there is a possibility that that price could come in cheaper. I was kind of rushed. I got Jennifer a quick price before the budget hearing the following day after our safety committee meeting. And we've reached out to Zoll directly, who we have an account with, because that's where our big monitors we run on the ambulance are from. And so there's a potential we can get those maybe at a better price. So that's kind of worst case, is it could come in cheaper.
Thank you, Pat.
With that, we'll move on to item 9, public comment. Please state your name for the record. You only have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, the building from my property at 49 High Street is yet to be corrected. I've asked more than once if your staff is bonded. No response to date. I want something in writing, as requested earlier. Mr. Mayor, numerous cases have asked for a list of those homeowners that Brad Christensen is required to sign a document requiring them to install curb gutter around the new home or the deed-not-due certificate of occupancy. I have not received any. You have selective enforcement going on and you just died. We talked about the lack of housing. He's the biggest detriment. I've told you more than once. The next detriment is all of you folks, because you're not doing anything. Nothing at all. Mr. Mayor, I reported back November 18, 2021, curb and gutter issue at 488 Stevens has gone from bad to pathetic. First it was 6 inches below grade, now it's 4 to 6 inches above grade. You need an engineer who knows how to survey. Mr. Mayor, earlier meetings have reported NDOT directed a fence around Murray Creek and Central Lake. It was water wire, violation of city code. It hasn't been corrected. I want to know who approved that, who gave the permit. Also at that general area where Avenue C transitions into North Street, railroad crossing. The track area, the fence has been put in the right of way, and a train or another vehicle on the tracks is going to have a difficult time getting past that. I've not been told who's gonna pay for the cost of replacing that track and rail. Mr. Mayor, in earlier meetings, I've asked about the status of the grandstand. Once you